What's up, everyone? This is KryptoniteDragon. I wanted to bring you some important tips on Black Ops 2. In particular, I'd like to explain some important things I've noticed about the Ghost perk and how to stay hidden and how to use that perk effectively. First, I'll say that this perk is vastly different than previous Call of Duty games. And it's important to know that some of these pointers are going to help you out much more than typically any perk discussions. And there's even a few things here at the end regarding enemy radar and how to deal with that. But first and foremost, let me say that Black Ops 2 has taken a new form of gameplay. In the past, the expectation was you could use a wide range of guns, and now in the multiplayer there's incentive to play the objective, keep moving, and really to use SMGs. So this game has definitely been pushed more towards the running and gunning style and close quarters combat. And with that, Treyarch has also made some serious changes to Ghost. So let's lay out those changes, get a better perspective on how to use it effectively. First, Ghost is not unlocked until you reach level 55, which is right before you'd be ready to prestige to the next level. So from this, we got to get the feeling that they really don't want people accessing it regularly. And of course not, because you can think a lot of people used to corner camp before, and they wanted to eliminate that as much as possible. That's probably one of the largest complaints that the Call of Duty series has had, is all the people corner camping. And so this is literally the last perk you're going to get before ranking up your prestige level. So secondly, there's another big restriction that's been placed on the Ghost perk. Not only do you get it late in the level up, but now you have to keep moving to use it. That's right, if you stop for more than a couple of seconds, it vanishes completely. It's like you don't have the perk, and you will show up on enemy radar. Now, you do get it back when you start moving again. It doesn't take long, though, once you're stopped, for you to show up on it, on what has typically become in a lot of these game types heavy with enemy UAVs. So what does that mean? How can I help you? Well, I'm glad you asked. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is, while you're using Ghost, is your own little mini-map in the upper left corner of your screen. Notice that you yourself are represented by a yellow triangle there. When you equip Ghost, like I have on this soldier, you will notice that very shortly after I start running, what happens to my yellow triangle? It fades to a lighter shade of yellow. When I stop moving, a few seconds later, bam, it goes back to that bright yellow that I started with when I was stopped. This is nothing less than an indication of how the Ghost perk is working. If I'm a faded yellow in color, I'm not showing on radar. If I'm that bright yellow, I'm visible. Now, this doesn't mean I expect you to have your head tilted up to the left to see what state you're in, but I do recommend you figure out for yourself exactly what actions make you show up. The obvious ones, like gunfire without a silencer, are easy to consider, but you should think about how long afterwards it takes you to disappear again. Give yourself an idea of what actions you can do. Give yourself an advantage. Here are a few things that I've noticed. First off, any slow movement, even though it's movement, is going to get you recognized. You cannot lay down and crawl. You cannot crouch and move at a regular speed. You will be visible. You cannot lay on certain objectives and remain hidden unless you're performing a specific action like defusing a bomb. There's an exception for that, but if you are moving around or even laying on an objective, something like that, you have to be moving quick. Once you stop on an objective, a couple seconds later, you are visible. This includes things where you're taking of flags and domination. You are visible while you're doing that. Lastly, do not think you can stand and sway side to side and stay off radar. You know, if you look at this motion here, you'll see that I am not becoming invisible on the radar. Now, if I put on the stock attachment, I can barely get away with it, but this is hard to do safely without getting sick of it real quick, and even then you're just barely making it so you're not visible. If you don't perform that action in a very good fashion each time, you're going to pop up every now and then, so it's not going to serve its point. Plus, if you're running in a circle and the enemy comes up on you, then you're going to get caught off guard. So I recommend not even trying to concentrate on such motions. But here's what I do want you to consider. Remember to walk at full speed. If you're going to walk, or you're going to move, a little bit slower, make sure it's at a full enough speed that you realize what it is taking to get you invisible on that radar. Don't linger behind cover for more than a couple seconds, more than it takes to scan for enemies before moving on to the next place of cover and doing the same scanning motion. Now remember, aiming down the sights while you're moving and maintaining the max speed while aiming down the sights will allow you to remain hidden, and you can still fire quickly. So this is important. And a lot of you like to have the gun up, ready, aiming down the sights. There's a lot to be said about having the stock attachment, some other things with that, and you can actually be very effective that way. Now if you're more of a hip fire person, I strongly recommend the laser attachment. Try to walk fast, but keep that laser where you expect someone to cross your path. If you do these things, you're going to get on target fast, you're going to still pull the trigger fast, you're going to do everything that you need, and that laser attachment's actually pretty great if you guys give it a try. It's like steady aim was before and the further in past Call of Duties. If you don't have a silencer, another thing I recommend is use that knife button. Hold off on the gunfire until absolutely needed. There's nothing worse than that red dot showing up behind a whole line of enemies. They know about you. If you use your knife, you stay hidden. Consider changing your buttons back if you were like me and you went to a tactical setup with the buttons, and switch back to default so that your knife stays on the R3, the stick button. And I switched because on previous Call of Duty games, the tactical button was more of use to me because I laid down and crouched more. And now it's not so common with this game being more close quarters. You're almost exclusively going to be close quarters battling. You're going to be moving, and crouching and laying down is not as much of an importance as knifing quickly. It's going to be a bigger help. So give that a thought, see if that's your play style. Maybe consider switching your buttons back if you'd switched to tactical before. Now with close quarters and use of this perk, I'll add that firing first and having guns that fire and damage quickly are important to get the most out of this perk. What I'm really speaking to is SMGs. You really need to use SMGs in this game. A lot of these other guns you can't fire as quickly as people coming upon you, and the Ghost perk's going to catch you, have you catching people off guard a lot more. That combined with the SMGs is going to have you killing a lot more. You still got to be fast on the trigger, and this works great with the Ghost perk. So that's the most you can hope with this perk right now. The advantage is huge against a radar watcher, but most others are still going to be scanning quickly and firing first, so you got to try to beat them to the punch. I'll be following this video up with a little bit more of a gun analysis of SMGs, so stay tuned for that. And anyway, if I consider the Ghost perk in a reasonable fashion, and I go for the objectives, I stay moving, I remain largely hidden, it's going to be advantageous. But also consider that the enemy radar, when it is not up, you're not visible anyway, unless you're firing an unsilenced gun in some cases, depending on your game modes. This means other important elements in staying concealed involve shooting down UAVs. Keep the enemy UAVs out of the sky as much as possible. Listen for when they are up so that you know that you have to pay attention to your movements. You should also consider the counter UAV as a kill streak, but I will warn that those can be shot down very quickly with a rocket if necessary. And I want to point that out. Most of us want to point up fast to reach max prestige. So along with playing the objectives, you can earn a share of high points with shooting down enemy aircraft and enemy UAVs. Consider this. Kills are not as rewarding as they used to be. Now, earning kill streaks, playing the objective, even destroying enemy equipment is going to get you ranked up faster. Consider those EMP grenades. Consider a rocket as your secondary equipment. Those are going to get you ranked up faster. And lastly on this topic, I want to let you know about a very low kill streak called the Hunter-Killer drone. Now, it's useful for killing enemies, but one thing you might not be aware of is it can also destroy enemy aircraft, including enemy UAVs and counter UAVs. To do this, consider throwing your Hunter-Killer drone sharply upward in the air and slightly in front of enemy UAVs. It travels a little slow, but throw it out there so that it's on a better intercept course and it will take out a UAV drone. Now this is it for Ghost. I wish you luck. Please subscribe and comment below for anything I might have missed. And if there's a big tip, let's give it a thumbs up so it floats to the top for everyone to see. I'm not going to catch everything, but some of you have some great ideas. Let's float it to the top with some thumbs ups so that everyone can see those great tips. Thanks for joining, and I hope to see you out there on the battlefield.